Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of March 9th, 2025. If you already know the basics of astrology and how to read a natal chart, you may be interested in my transits class for Kepler College. It's a 5-week class that starts on April 1st. There's advanced pricing to March 18th, as well as limited seats. So if you're interested, I suggest you sign up for the class before it sells out. You will learn all about profections, outer planet transits, eclipses, retrogrades, and their stations. I would love to have you join. So go to the link in the show notes or my website, astrologybyceleste.com, and sign up today. First, let's take a look back at the astrology in action. Venus, the planet of relationships, diplomacy, love, beauty, and resources, stationed to go retrograde on March 1st. And as a planet is moving into its station, it's barely moving in the sky. And retrogrades are a great time to go internal and do all the RE words: revisit, review, revise, rethink, all things about Venus topics. Retrogrades also symbolize delays, conflicts, and potentially the collapse of something that was contemplated. And Aries is a sign of conflict and war. Venus does not like to be in Aries. It's as far as from its home in the sign of Libra as it can be. And we saw a Venus retrograde for the ages on a world stage. It started at 10 degrees of Aries and it's backing it up back into Pisces at 24 or 26. I can't remember right now. It doesn't matter for the story. But Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, who has been valiantly fighting for his people against Russia invading the country, went to the White House and met with President Trump. And the goal was to sign on to a mineral deal where the U.S. would get access to some of their mineral because of what we've invested in the war. And the Obama administration had looked at a mineral deal years ago and determined that the value for what they had and what they could prove they had was not to their liking, so the deal never went through. So this could be something about fool's gold, where we make this deal, but maybe it's not as much as they thought theoretically could be available. So that's something that may not come up for a long time, possibly even years, if the deal does get signed. But the deal collapsed. It was a horror show where Donald Trump and his sidekick, the vice president, J.D. Vance, started yelling in the Oval Office in a meeting in front of the whole world at Vladimir Zelensky and telling him, well, J.D. Vance started talking about, have you even said thank you? Thank you even once. He said thank you right when he first sat down. That's neither here or there. In diplomacy, in front of the whole world, you do not scream and yell at a guest in your house. It was a diplomatic nightmare. They kicked Zelensky out of the White House. And many people think this sneak attack was pre-planned against Zelensky. And it was just such an embarrassment. Well, anyway, that's Venus retrograde. They were coming together for this deal. A conflict ensued and it collapsed. Classic, the day before Venus station retrograde. and all weekend when we're still seeing the ramifications of this collapse. Zelensky went over to Europe and got a hero's welcome from the European Union, and there's going to be more and more investment from Europe. You know, Russia is an immediate threat to Europe, and they will be paying more, which is fine. And a Navy ship, went to, I believe it was Norway, to refuel. And this is something that's been a regular practice for, I don't know how long, it doesn't matter. But the company that sells the fuel said, we're not selling it to you. Goodbye, because of this conflict. So they were seeking resources and they were turned around. Now, a couple days later, the country of Norway says they will continue to fuel American military ships, but the military is ruled by Aries, and this was so in line. Like, the ship came in, it had a reverse of retrogrades, rule reversals, and get out of there. Also, J.D. Vance took his family to go skiing in Vermont, and they chased him off the slopes. They told him to go skiing in Russia, called him a traitor, and I was so proud of the people of Vermont. They came out in force. He and his family on vacation. Venus rules vacations because it's recreations. It's things we do for pleasure. Had to pack up and move. And I guess they did do some skiing, but they got yelled at and whatnot. So they did not have a fun vacation because most people in the United States are not on the side of Russia. They were our enemy until Donald Trump became president. Anyway, that's the astrology of what happened. Your cosmic advantage begins with the Wise Skies digital calendar. With descriptions for every planetary and lunar event, all levels of astrology enthusiasts can enjoy the calendar on any device and now in many languages. With this superpower in your back pocket, you will be fully equipped to understand the astrological weather any day of the week. My good friend and collaborator, Tiffany Herlick, creates this calendar every year, and I use it daily. I highly recommend it. Use my coupon code for $10 off. The code is ABC2025. Let the universe have your back with the Wise Skies digital astrology calendar. The theme of this week is the firing squad. And there are three big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that Mercury and Venus retrograde will meet at 8 Aries. And I'm talking about this because this transit has been on my mind since last year. I did a talk for the Astrological Association in England about this, and I called it Fire in the Sky. Aries is a fire sign. It's happening on March 11th, right before the lunar eclipse, but there's something important about this. Mercury rules communications, transportation, thought processes, and commerce. Mercury's going forward, Venus is going backwards through the sky. And what they're doing is they're mutually applying to each other. Now, typically when Mercury and Venus come together, that's fantastic. It's let's make a deal energy, where the parties, depending on the signs, are looking to make a deal. And like if it was in Libra, we want win-win solutions. Now, with Aries, it's this, maybe there's this desire for winner take all. There's less energy of collaboration. There's more likelihood of fighting, or something could be decided impulsively and you agree to it and you regret it later. So a couple of days before and after this transit, just be aware that it's not a great time to agree to something unless you think it through, because you may decide it's something, I wish I hadn't committed to this, especially if money is involved. And now they're both in the same sign, so there's something about them both wanting it, but with Venus being in the sign of her detriment, she may not really have what she thinks she has. You've definitely asked a question or two, go deeper. There may be something that is an illusion. Now, it could be, oh, you thought you were going to sign a deal a while ago and it fell through for some reason, and now you're back again, or it was delayed for some reason. Now you're back again and you're ready to finalize it. Like maybe they come to an agreement about the minerals. I know there's still talk about the United States and Ukraine coming together for this agreement, or it could be something else. Now, if it's something that hasn't been contemplated for a while, I want you to think about it before you say yes, because you may not be happy about it. Now, it also feels like they're amplifying things on the right wing about the police officer who was in jail for killing George Floyd. His name is Derek Chauvin. And Elon Musk was elevating this about George Floyd, wanting Derek Chauvin to have a pardon for killing George Floyd. And this was the killing that led to protests and worldwide protests about police brutality. And this could be what happens because Aries is a sign that's associated with police officers, and Venus would be like a gift. The pardon would be a gift, and Mercury for his sentence, conviction kind of thing. So that's something that could be coming around this time. Also, Donald Trump has said he's going to go back and give police immunity so that they can kill whoever they want. It took forever to fight to get police held accountable when they act in a way that's excessive force or something like that, that causes death or a maiming of a person. And this can also be about like Venus retrograde, like tearing up contracts, I feel like also. Like Elon Musk is getting a lot of his Starlink canceled. I'm sure people are trying to return their Teslas and all sorts of stuff. He's becoming persona non grata for his horrible behavior. So just that's something to notice about where you see the Aries energy involved in relationships or people trying to make deals, and the retrograde energy, like it was delayed from a while ago or something like that. Or you agree to it and then you're like, oh, shoot, I wish I hadn't agreed to that. Like it could just be like, do you want to go out to dinner on Friday? Yes, I do. A couple days later, I don't feel like going out to dinner. Or in your mind, you're like, I wish I hadn't said yes. So just notice it's an interesting transit. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that the lunar eclipse at 23 Virgo is on Thursday. Virgo is a sign of health, systems, farmland, service workers, and the south node is there in the sign of Virgo, so it's a drain. This is the first eclipse since the nodes moved into Pisces, where the north node is amplifying Pisces themes, and Virgo in the south node, draining Virgo themes. And in the US, it's bonkers. We are having a measles outbreak where a child has already died. Measles is one of the most contagious diseases there is. It was eradicated in 2000. Now, concerns about side effects of the vaccines have led some people to not vaccinate their kids, which has caused herd immunity to drop. And here we go. We have this huge outbreak just in time for the government to being dismantled by the Trump administration. So a lot of the systems that we would have used to help manage something like this are being broken down. Also, there are cases of rubella, and at a college in Pennsylvania, there is an outbreak of chickenpox. So the US is dealing with all kinds of these diseases, which it feels like we're in the 1800s. Also, dysentery is impacting Oregon, but that's more of homeless camps. And so notice what else you are seeing. It's a good time to really focus on your health. I've been thinking it could be that some kind of communication system or power. I've been getting a power outage for a long time, and the trade war went into effect with Canada, and that was the day after Mercury entered the sign of Aries. Mercury rules commerce, Aries war, and Venus resources, and Venus rules partners. So Canada and Mexico are our closest partners, trading partners. And now this administration has decided to go to war with basically the whole world, but specifically Canada is getting the most news because Canada is not taking it lying down. They're not going to submit to a bully who keeps calling them the 51st state. They are not playing around. They have taken American liquor off the shelves. They've instituted their own tariffs. And the Premier of Ontario, I hope I said his title right, has said they are considering turning off the power to northern states where we get our power from Canada. So that could mean people in Michigan and a bunch of other states, including New York, could one day be standing there and the lights just go off. So be prepared. Go get some water for a couple of weeks, get non-perishables, make sure you have the batteries for your flashlights and all of that good stuff. I'm sure you can Google how to prepare for an unexpected system outage. Keep your phones charged. Keep them on the hook, the power cord. Keep everything charged up in case something happens. This is so serious. It's going to have unbelievable consequences for the U.S. economy. And the lunar eclipse, if you set it to Washington, D.C., when the eclipse happens, the moon and the south node are in the ninth house. So the ninth house rules long distance travel. It rules philosophy, higher education, broadcasting, college campuses, foreign countries are these ninth house things. Legal affairs also fall in the ninth house, like the Supreme Court. And so there could be some more losses for the Trump administration from the Supreme Court. They lost already. They can't take all the aid away just overnight from USAID. There was some ruling against them, but it could really happen where the power goes out because of something the Trump administration does against Canada. And a big thing about this eclipse is the Sun and Saturn are conjunct within a degree in the sign of Pisces. Saturn rejects, excludes, ends things. It's harsh. This is really uncomfortable. Pisces has associations, the Sun and Saturn are in Pisces, with illness, confusion, dissolving things on the water. There could be, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of conflict overseas that came up. Just today, I record this early. Today is Wednesday, March 5th, and the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, this Fox News host, said we're ready to go to war with China. He was talking about trade, but, these things can escalate very quickly. And a cyber attack is another thing I'm concerned about. Already last week, Outlook, Microsoft's product, went down for a couple of hours. So there are always people trying to penetrate systems, but this administration is so chaotic, doing so many things unexpectedly. The people who work for the government are stressed, out of their minds. Some are depressed. Probably some people are turning to drugs and alcohol to cope with being attacked nonstop by the government. And somebody could be miss something. And next thing we know, we're in some kind of serious crisis. This eclipse is just really intense. There's no two ifs, ands, buts about it. Now, a lot of times things happen to the day. So the eclipse March 13th or March 14th are really the days to be aware of. Make sure you have enough gas in your tank. Do not be driving around on fumes, because what if you get stuck somewhere because there's some kind of outage? I put water in my car. I have extra clothes in my car, that sort of thing. So just maybe nothing's happening. This could be about an assassination or something like that, where the sun Saturn, where I worry about Zelensky, but yeah, it could be something like really shocking that has a real big impact. Although Zelensky, that's more the solar eclipse in Aries. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm hoping not. I'm praying for the man. I think he's been such an example of a leader. Anyway, the sun is at 23 Pisces. The tarot correspondence is the 10 of Cups, which is the happy family card, which is about contentment. But the sun is next to Saturn, which puts a heavy, wet blanket, a shadow over the happy family. The Sabian symbol is the tiny island seems lost in the broad ocean, but its happy inhabitants have created a world of their own. This symbol is about finding your own peace, being adaptable. Something that happens on an island may make news, and it's a problem, like it could be a power outage on an island or something like that. Hopefully nothing like a tsunami or anything, but this eclipse is really harsh, just so you know. The moon is at 23 Virgo. The card is the 10 of Pentacles. And the 10 of Pentacles is a card of like wealth and family. There's also an imagery of family, and like you've worked hard your whole life and now you have this nice nest egg that allows you to enjoy the fruits of your labor and your family and leave a legacy, is 10 of Pentacles energy. Mary and her white lamb is the Sabian symbol. This gives images of childlike innocence, bonds between people and their pets. Now, this also brings up bird flu as a huge problem in the U.S., and I get lambs to the slaughter as well. So there could be something coming up about farm animals. And we know that cows have been getting bird flu. And so it's really something that's going on in the United States. We're going through a very hard time. In the sky, Saturn is approaching an exact opposition opposite the natal Neptune of the U.S. chart. And when Saturn and Neptune talk, this is about health breakdowns. So if you have Saturn and Neptune talking in your chart by transit, there can be something going on with your health. It doesn't have to be, but there could be. And we are seeing it for the United States. So there's no need to get like terrified about this, but there are people who are going to be experiencing hardship. They already are. I am having my Pluto eclipsed, and I had a whole day panic attack yesterday. It just hit me how it feels like the rug has been pulled out from under us, where like I felt like the government used to be there to keep us safe, get on our nerves too when they weren't efficient, or we felt like they wasted our money or wouldn't get things done. But I didn't feel like the government was intentionally attacking me, except when this man, Trump, has been president. And they've talked about this one woman who's a member of the administration went on a tirade about veterans maybe not deserving to be paid in their jobs. And it's obscene what is going on with this country at this moment from my perspective. But this too shall pass. And you know what? It may come to a breaking point sooner rather than later. They are causing so much chaos, putting us at risk, damaging businesses, not following the Constitution. Something could happen where there's good Republicans, probably in Congress, that aren't MAGA and aren't in the cult who may say enough is enough. And I don't know if it's going to be impeachment or treason or something could come up, is what I'm thinking. I would not be surprised by anything, frankly. The new moon of this cycle was September 14th, 2023, where the sun and the moon were in Virgo at 21 degrees each. 9 months later, the first quarter moon, the sun was in Gemini, the moon was in Virgo, both at 23 degrees on June 13th, 2024. And now we come to the lunar eclipse. Full exposure. Full moon times 10 or 10,000, depending on how it hits your chart. The sun is in Pisces, the moon is in Virgo, both at 23 degrees on March 13th. And the last quarter moon, where the sun is in Sagittarius, the moon is in Virgo, both at 20 degrees on December 11th, 2025. So you can look back at those dates, see if something was seeded around the new moon or the first quarter moon. There was a pivot, and you really get full visibility at this time. Really take care of your mental health, ground if you're feeling this, and especially people with a lot of mutable energy may be feeling it. So the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And you can look at 5 degrees on either side of 23. But my Pluto is there, and it brought up all the fears and terror I have about what could be coming with all of this, where, oh, it's so horrible to see all these people lose their jobs, and the increase in homelessness, despair, drug addiction, suicide, all these things that are Piscean going up because a lack of Virgo, a lack of earth, a lack of resources or basic needs is Virgo. So take good care of yourselves. Reach out to people you're worried about, and that is what I would say. Now, this too shall pass, but it's a tough time. It's tough energy. Last thing I want to make you aware of is that Mercury will station retrograde at 9 Aries. So Mercury in the sign of conflict, fire, and wars. Last year when Mercury stationed retrograde was when Israel accidentally shot 3 World Food Kitchen trucks that were delivering food in Gaza. Now, they said it was a mistake, but this is the sort of thing that happens with Mercury retrograde because it's like they're not thinking clearly or being too impulsive. This is when mistakes can happen. And at the lunar eclipse, Mercury is stationing to go retrograde. So it doesn't go retrograde technically till afterwards, but the lunar eclipse is in Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo. It's stationing retrograde at the time of the eclipse, which makes it even more intense. And it has the sun, Saturn. So this is a harsh energy next week that some people maybe won't notice at all. But if you're paying attention at all to the news, or if you're talking to people, somebody is talking to you who's having a difficult time. This goes retrograde March 14th through April 7th, and it moves from 9 Aries all the way back to 26 Pisces. And on March 29th, it moves back into Pisces. So the next solar eclipse is going to be at 0 Aries on a world point. So this is really intense time. Aries rules the head, eyes, ears, nose, everything on your head. It's a good time to get your eyes checked. If you think someone is having a stroke, get them to the hospital right away. Mercury rules tubes of all kinds, especially if they have diabetes with Venus retrograde. There could be I get the image of with Mercury retrograde, traffic backed up in a tunnel. Mercury also, it rules the hands and the lungs. So yeah, do whatever you can to protect your lungs. Now, something you can think about with Mercury retrograde, which is an optical illusion. It appears the planet stops and goes backwards from our perspective on Earth. It doesn't really, but the topics and rules gets all wonky, and we can have delays, reversals, conflicts, collapse. Say we're having a birthday and Mercury and Venus are both retrograde now, and you blew out a candle and then turned around. And when you turned back around, the candle was still burning. So there's a really high possibility of house fires, I think, with Mars and Cancer as well. So be extra, extra, extra careful with fire. Now, this could be around the time where the indictments are reversed or police immunity is returned. But to use it well, it's a time to slow down, go within, reflect, revisit, and revise. Very important to think about not being impulsive. Probably there's going to be an increase in people getting speeding tickets because they are driving too fast. So slow down. Watch where you're walking. Watch what you're doing. Be careful with knives and fire. And everything will just be fine. These two retrogrades are a gift to really get clear about your values and what you really value. And maybe your values are different from some people who you used to think you shared the same values with. And there are some people who are cutting ties because of what is going on in a lot of different ways. But it's a great time to really get clear. It would really be something if Elon Musk and his team of hackers did not take into account the time change that's happening on March 9th, where we need to move the clocks forward in the code they've been inserting in our government systems. If so, and it caused the debt payments or some other payments to not be made on time and triggered a financial crisis, that would be something that's in line with this energy, with the Venus retrograde. Venus rules the midheaven and the executive branch of the United States, and Venus suggests being retrograde suggests that they could make some kind of mistake that is not realized until later. And with the Mercury retrograde, that's the day it becomes apparent because payments that were supposed to go out did not. That would fit the Sun-Saturn, where this big mistake caused a crisis that had financial implications. The moon is trine Uranus in Taurus. And taking it further, what if other countries called in our debt and wouldn't allow us the time needed? And that could be another crisis. So, there could be some kind of financial crisis that comes from a mistake made. I think it would be by Elon Musk and his merry henchmen that causes us a big problem. And hopefully it just enrages Americans and does not cause some international conflict. But the lunar eclipse is in the 9th house of the chart of the United States. So we'll see what happens. That may not happen, but that's something that came to me that would fit the symbology of the eclipse. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is tempest. We have a Cancer moon as the day starts, and the moon is sextile Uranus. And I got the image of the tempest in the teapot, like water boiling, boiling, boiling. Now, it can also be making a fuss about nothing, or it could be a big storm that causes a shipwreck, like The Tempest by William Shakespeare. And this again has me thinking this is the day you're supposed to turn your clocks forward an hour. And we have a Leo moon starting at 3:58 p.m. Pacific time. The moon in Leo is fiery and prideful and brave energy. It's a great time to live out loud, have a party. So if you were rushing to get work done early in the day, I can really see something slipping someone's mind during the day. And then you party hardy with the Leo moon, because Leo moons encourage us to have some fun. And you don't even realize the mistake you made by not putting your clocks forward. And then you could be late to work on Monday. On Monday, the word of the day is charisma. Now, if you have enough charisma, you could just sweet talk your boss about the fact that you are late, because we lose an hour when the clocks go forward. There's a gibbous moon at 5 Leo at 1:19 a.m. Pacific time. It's a great day to have a meeting where you can call prospects that said no the first time, and they may be ready to get back to this table and make a deal with you. The moon is sextile Jupiter, the planet of abundance that invests in. So a charismatic leader could be giving some big speech on this day that has people enraptured, maybe even enjoying and laughing and having a good time. On Tuesday, the word of the day is revisit. Venus is sesqui-square Uranus. Like there could be some unexpected breakthrough regarding finances or love. Like you ask someone out on a date who said no to you before and they say yes. That could be, or your ex drops into your DMs and you're like, oh, well, yeah, I'll go out with you, even though you're inclined to say no. Yeah, so we can have breakthroughs or breakdowns, and Venus matters. Or you could just get the courage and be like, oh, I'm going to call whoever and ask them out. This is a day Mercury and Venus retrograde are conjunct at 8 degrees of Aries. Now, this really impacts Donald Trump's chart because it's square his Mercury and opposite his Neptune. Like it could also be secrets coming out, like news of some past dealings. Yeah, an old deal could come back into the collective where things are exposed, because lunar eclipses bring full exposure. I wrote down eliminate federal income taxes. That's something that the president has talked about, but maybe saying something like that on this day could come out. Now, there could also be an information leak. It's a great time to challenge yourself to lift heavier or push harder with the Aries energy. I wrote Squabble Up, which is a Kendrick Lamar song. But yeah, this could be like people are playing a game and they're crap talking each other, like egging each other on. On Wednesday, the word of the day is controls. This is the day the moon goes into Virgo at 12:55 a.m., a great time to get grounded, declutter, bring order to chaos. Think about practical matters. Hopefully you stocked up and you're all good to go and organized, know where everything is. If you need batteries or a flashlight, potentially if something was said so off the cuff yesterday, there could be consequences. The Premier of Ontario has threatened to cut power to parts of the US, and this is the day of the Sun, Saturn, and Pisces conjunction at 22 degrees of Pisces, and it's opposite the Neptune in Virgo of the USA. So there's a spotlight. A leader could constrict things. Storms control or controls on storms could be something that is coming up. But notice the sun brings our attention to things, and it will bring our attention to something Saturnian. Saturn limits, rejects and excludes, blocks, controls, punishes. Now, it could also be if you've been working hard on something, this is the day you achieve it and you have a breakthrough. Now, I'm concerned about some kind of cyber problem. So this could also be something that we become aware of. Thursday's word of the day is scuffle. This is the day of the lunar eclipse at 23 Virgo at 11:54 p.m. Pacific time. You could find out someone has a health problem, or they're really anxious about something, or perfectionistic. It's like full exposure of someone who's quite Virgo, and it's the shadow energies of Virgo potentially that you are seeing. Or it could be actually like maybe someone has been working out and taking care of themselves and lost a bunch of weight and looks great, or is taking one of those drugs, and you see him and it's like, oh my goodness, they look so different because Sun, Saturn, they have been exercising discipline and they look fantastic. Now, some people may be trying to get resources last minute before a storm lands. A lot of this energy could just be a bad storm somewhere, but there's going to be system breakdowns, problems that people around the world are experiencing. Now we know there may be some more job losses. They're talking about cutting 80,000 jobs from the Veterans Administration with a solar eclipse in Aries coming. Aries rules the military, and people who fought for this country are going to have even a harder time getting health care. It's just shameful. On Friday, the word of the day is conflict. The sun in Pisces is sextile Uranus in Taurus. So there could be a spotlight on something Uranian that's upheaval in Taurus, which is money and resources or land. The sun and Uranus are both at 24 degrees. I wrote down about face, and Elon Musk has been telling us about how he's going to make mistakes, but he's going to correct them when he makes it. And he can't be held accountable. He can't be expected to do everything right because they're moving so fast. They're using a chainsaw instead of a scalpel to make these adjustments to the government, and it's causing absolute chaos. And what if they made a mistake and bills aren't paid properly? The Libra moon happens at 11:58 a.m. Pacific time. And the U.S. has a Libra MC. So as the moon is in Libra, we're often looking at the executive branch or our public reputation. And Mercury stations retrograde in Aries at 9 degrees of Aries. And Mercury rules transportation and commerce. And when a planet is stationing, it's like it's standing still. There's extended pause. What if some kind of systems go down? It could be transportation related, where flights are grounded or something like that. Or some kind of system has a malfunction, or it's a recurrence of a previous situation in some way. But you can expect on this day, be prepared for delays, reversals, restrictions, and the potential collapse of anything contemplated. So don't leave the house without going to the bathroom, because what if there's a huge traffic jam because of an accident caused by distracted driving and you're stuck on a bridge somewhere or something like that? You can't go behind a tree because you're on the bridge. On Saturday, the word of the day is slumber. This is a day where maybe you need a lot of rest because you sat on a highway for so long, or just it feels like exhaustion. Sometimes lunar eclipses can take a lot out of people, and you just need some rest and relaxation. The moon is in Libra. Maybe ask your sweetie to do a reversal and ask them to take care of you if you're the caregiver or something like that. Yeah, because Mercury and Venus are both retrograde and the moon is opposite them. So the people may be seeing a mistake made by the executive branch, which caused a problem, and they've just had enough and they need a nap. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology in action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.